Hi, I'm Izzy, and welcome to our first conversation about Mussar. In this first conversation, I'm not actually going to tell you what Mussar is all about, or even tell you what that word means. I'm just going to tell you what these conversations are going to be about, specifically who they're for, what I want from these conversations, and then what we'll be talking about. And I'm going to finish this little conversation by showing you a really nifty symbol that you may have never seen before. And then I'm going to make up a little blessing. So we'll see how that goes. So, firstly, who these conversations will be for. You probably noticed that Mussar isn't an English word, that's a Hebrew word. And yes, Mussar is a Hebrew word, and it's about some Jewish things for sure. And I will be talking from a deeply Jewish perspective, but I'm going to be making these talks for everybody. Mussar is definitely for everyone, Jews and non-Jews. Mussar teachings are true for everyone. Mussar practices work for everyone. So basically, if you're a human, this is for you. I'm also going to be doing these talks especially for kids, like right around the 12-year-old level. I'm going to try to talk on that level. So, I'm going to talk pretty simply, and I'm going to explain big words. The reason I'm going to do that is because Mussar teachings are things that we should all learn when we're kids, but many of us don't. And so I'm doing these talks, for you. Honestly, I'm also doing them for myself, because Mussar is something that I am really passionate about and that I've really immersed myself in, and it's just done so much for me. And I'm also doing these for my children because they need to learn these things. So that's who these conversations are going to be for. If we do encounter Hebrew words, like you may have noticed this letter, you're like, wait a minute, what's that? So that's the Hebrew letter mem, and it is the first letter in the Hebrew word Mussar. So when we encounter Hebrew things, I'll be sure to explain them for you and make it a really positive learning experience. In terms of what I want from these conversations, I want to get you kind of doing four things. I want to get you learning Mussar, thinking about Mussar, talking about it, and doing it. And specifically, my hope for you is that I can get you doing 10 or 20 minutes of Mussar a day. Maybe like half of that you could spend learning and half of that you could spend actually practicing it. And my other hope for you would be that hopefully you can find somebody else who wants to do this with you, like a Mussar partner, a Mussar friend, because it can make for a very deep and special friendship. So I honestly hope that for you. So in terms of what we're going to talk about, or how we're going to get there, these conversations are going to be kind of based on Mussar books. But it's not going to be like boring book reviews where I go through the whole book, like page by page. I'm more going to use these books as springboards, and specifically, I'm going to... Okay, remember how I told you that I want to get you doing four things? So basically, that's what I'm going to focus on. I'm going to focus on Mussar texts, which will get you learning Mussar. Focus on Mussar ideas, which will get you thinking in Mussar ways. Focus on Mussar words, which will get you talking Mussar. Hopefully, not just by yourself, but with somebody else, like I mentioned. Talking with yourself can be great too, of course. And then finally, Mussar practices, getting you doing Mussar. And we're going to look at Mussar books from 5 different eras, actually. Firstly, from the era of the Bible, which lasted about 1,000 years. And then the era of the Rabbinic writings, which lasted for about another 500 years. And then the era of classical Mussar books, which lasted for almost 1,000 years. Then fourthly, the time of the Mussar Movement, which only lasted for about 100 years. I mean, 100 years can sound like a lot, but compared to like 3,000-year eras, maybe it doesn't sound that long. And that era was from roughly the mid-1800s to the mid-1900s. And then finally, Mussar books from the modern era, which would be from the mid-1900s until now. So we'll go through, I think I'm going to start by talking about the biggest and most popular Mussar books. And then after that, we'll go back and we'll fill in the blanks with some of the other ones. So that's the plan. There are some other things that I'm going to be pointing out as we kind of walk along and talk about these books. But I'm not going to list all those for you right now. They'll come up as we go along with this. So I want to show you something here. I'm going to show you a symbol. This, by the way, is a symbol in and of itself, and it's kind of neat how it represents Mussar work. But we're not going to unpack that right now. The symbol I want to show you right now is this. We're going to use this symbol to represent Mussar. And I'd even like you to, if you want to take that first step on the Mussar path, you can copy and paste this symbol from our website, which is Mussar Center. It's literally mussar.center, and that's spelled mussar.center. And maybe put it in your, use it in posts on social media, your username, things like that, and it'll be like this sign between us, so that we can recognize each other, and it'll be like, hey, that person's into Mussar too. Good conversation starter. And it probably means you're a pretty nifty person. All right, so here's the question. What does this look like to you? If I were to be like, what does this thing look like to you? What would you say? All right, to me it looks like two things, actually. Firstly, I'm going to tell you what the name for this symbol is in a little bit, but I'm not going to tell you yet because that would kind of blow it. Okay, so to me personally, I think this symbol looks like a piece of fruit hanging on a branch. And then secondly, I think it kind of looks like a heart. And I learned from my daughter to see hearts everywhere. Anything that kind of looks like a heart, she's like, oh, look, there's a heart. So yeah, that's what I think it looks like. And it's actually neat because this symbol really does picture what Mussar does in our lives. So when you think about fruit, what are some of the words that come to mind? Or maybe you think about certain, sensory experiences like taste or smell or how it feels in your hands. So I'm kind of interested to hear some of the words that come to mind for you. I know for me, when I think of fruit, I think of sweet. I think of bright. I think of yummy, life-giving, refreshing, beautiful, like a lot of good things. It's kind of neat how fruit is a lot of good things. And really, that's what Mussar can bring into your life. It can make your life more of those things. And then secondly, I mentioned that it kind of looks like a heart to me, which is really neat because that's what Mussar does too. Like, Mussar is about you and who you most deeply are. It is about your heart and about you finding yourself more deeply and your heart coming alive and becoming more free. And not just becoming happy, but becoming like joyful. So that's why we're going to be using this this glyph as our little symbol. And this glyph, by the way, it's called a fleuron. It's from an old French word that means flower. So, do you think that looks like a flower? Maybe, I don't know. Anyways, that's technically what it's called. So if you Google like fleuron, it'll come up and you can copy and paste it and use it creatively, however you please. All right, so that was the symbol. At the end of these conversations, I want to say like congratulations for different things. So like in Hebrew, one way of saying congratulations is mazal tov. And then I also want to finish these conversations by saying a little blessing. So, what would I say Mazal Tov for? I'd say Mazal Tov to you because you just learned some Mussar and you just took the first step on the path. So Mazal Tov to you for that. Mazal Tov to me because I got what I wanted. I want you to take that step on the path and to start learning. I believe that it's one of the best things that can ever happen to a person. I have to honestly say that it's one of the best things that's ever happened to me. So I want that for you too. And yeah, well, Mazal Tov to us for that. I'm celebrating that. All right, and I'm going to finish by saying a little blessing. So, as you do a little bit of Mussar every day, as you walk this path, may your life become more fruity, refreshing, sweet, life-giving, beautiful, yummy. And for your heart, may your heart come more alive than it has ever been before. And may you feel more joy than you could ever imagine.